Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhait, the minister of this congregation. We are so glad you have chosen to join us in worship. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm that we need not think alike to love alike, meaning that we are a faith community woven together in shared covenant rather than conformity of belief. This is the covenant that binds our congregation. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. If that sounds like the kind of community you've been seeking, please see our website, uuamherst.org, and get to know us better. We begin our worship together by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, that embodies the light of reason and the search for truth and meaning, the warmth of friendship and community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more justice and compassion to a hurting world. The seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes respect for the interdependent web of all existence. In recognition of all that connects us, we offer words of gratitude and responsibility.
The campus of UU Amherst was once occupied by the Seneca Nation, one of the tribes that make up the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Today, we acknowledge the relationship they cultivated and nourished with this land. We are the grateful heirs of this deep connection. We say, Nyahweh, thank you, in the Seneca language. We acknowledge the hurt that has been perpetrated toward Indigenous people, and we covenant to live with respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. We give away our gratitude for the beauty and resiliency of this lovely planet that birthed us, nourishes and sustains us, and that will receive us back when life has used us up.
Each week we include in our worship service a time for all ages, whether it takes the form of a story or shared images or some other shape. This time is meant to engage all of us at all ages and stages of life. This part of the service is an integral part of our worship as a multi-generational community of faith. Today's Time for All Ages takes the form of a short video TED Talk with Roman Krznaric, author of The Good Ancestor, which is the current selection of our Tuesday Listen and Learn Zoom offering that we call A Meal for Your Mind. Contact Angela Warren at dfd@uuamherst.org if you would like to be included in the Tuesday sessions. I've been talking for years about being worthy ancestors, so Krasnerik's book and ideas are a natural for me. I believe that they are a natural for all of us, because we have already begun the work of caring for place with our green sanctuary efforts. Let's hear from one of our youth as Emma provides an update on the greening projects we began a year ago.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Devin and Emma here. Reverend Michelle asked us to come talk to you because it's been a full year since we did that whole December of recycling. Hopefully you remember that. We will be updating the handouts if you've lost yours. As you can print out a new one. Hopefully you're following all your recycling and there will be no trash bags in your recycling, right? Right? Also in January last year, we did 7 different things to improve, and that was all from something called Project Drawdown, which ranks all the places that we can make an effect to climate change. And Emma has a presentation that she's put together on another thing that you can start doing in 2021 to affect climate change. So take it away, Emma.
Did you know the #1 contributor to climate change is off-gassing from landfills? This is a chart showing all the garbage added to landfills in 2018. In landfills, off-gasses methane gas. Methane gas traps up to 100 times more heat in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide within a 5-year period, changing the climate 100 times more drastically and overall quicker. The main things on this map are food, plastic, paper, wood, metal, wood, and yard waste. Now, methane in landfills is only released by things that rot. Plastic and metal instead contribute to methane in its production. Okay, we need to contribute less food, plastic, paper, and yard waste. 3/4 of this list reminds me of one thing: grocery shopping. These are 5 really easy ways you can decrease your food waste. Let's start with food choice. Okay, this is a really important one, and it's surprisingly easy. Let's say you're buying carrots. You would normally buy this one, but instead you can buy this one. Or instead of this plastic container, you can buy a glass container. Okay, compost. You could buy a $50 compost tumbler like this one, or you could drop off your compost at a local collection site. Bulk. This one is really easy. You go to the co-op or Wegmans, and you fill your bags and jars with dry goods. This also saves money because you're not paying for the packaging. Now, FIFO. This is an inventory management term that means first in, first out. It's used a lot in this household. Basically, when you're getting cheese out of the fridge, you would take the cheese that you bought 2 weeks ago rather than the cheese you bought 2 days ago. Shop local. This one's a lot of fun, but it's a little confusing. This is a map that has you running around town. Now, instead of doing that, you would go here and there on the way to a dentist appointment or work. It could make a big difference in your waste. Local stores normally have more sustainable packaging because it's easier to change their packaging than big box store packaging. And it's a fun way to interact with your neighbors.
Thank you, Emma. That was quite an undertaking. One of the many things we have learned from our faith tradition, the good ancestors that have preceded us, is that it matters what we do as individuals, and it matters that we widen the scope of our principles to encompass the wider community, and indeed, all of life. It is not enough to work only for ourselves, but that is the place from which we must begin. Today's service is an exploration of inclusion, of courage and compassion. Each of us has gifts and challenges, and we bring them together in this place. Each of us, no matter our age or stage of life, have a responsibility to the generations to come. I wonder what you will do to wake from the dystopian nightmare and use your energies to decolonize the future and to restore, repair, and care for the planetary home that will take care of our offspring. Let's set the tone by a reading of Robert Walsh's poem, Fault Line. Did you ever think there might be a fault line passing underneath your living room? A place in which your life is lived in meeting and in separating, wondering and telling, unaware that just beneath you is the unseen seam of great plates that strain through time, and that your life, already spilling over the brim, could be invaded, sent off in a new direction, turned aside by forces you were warned about but not prepared for. Shelves could be spilled out, the level floor set at an angle in some seconds shaking. You would have to take your losses, do whatever must be done next. When the great plates slip and the earth shivers and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solidity, to weighty slabs of concrete poured or strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. Trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn, but always healing. There's your strength. The shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together.
When I wake up in America, I see my neighbors there with every type of clothes and shoes, hats and skin and hair, every fine belief and custom. Scores of songs from who knows where. When I wake up in America, our stories fill the air. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up in America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, I see the kids playing, happily swaying. It's good to be staying in a place like this, with a face like this. When I wake up in America, I put away my fear, and I love my neighbor as myself, and I say I'm glad that you're here. We have found ourselves together in a land we dream could be. When we wake up in America, everybody will be free. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, please, America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When when I wake up, when you wake up, when we wake up in America.
Waking from the Dystopian Nightmare, Part 1. Many of us have felt that the last 4 years have been a dystopian nightmare. Just to remind you, the word dystopian refers to an imagined society where there is great suffering or injustice. Think Hunger Games. I think we can honestly say that the United States has surpassed the imagined portion of that definition. Whether it is children separated from their families and put into cages at the border, the continued indiscriminate killing of people of color, or the flagrant demonstrations of white nationalism and unleashed white supremacy culture, we have been living in a dystopian nightmare. Lea Morris sang, "When we wake up in America, everyone will be free." That's our mission, my friends, to wake up and ensure that everyone is free. That's a tall order. This dystopian nightmare didn't begin 4 years ago. It was just intensified to create havoc, stoke hidden fears, and to bring the malignant features of human nature to the light. We can look back through history and recognize the imprint of an anthropocentric dystopia in the unregulated industrial machine, choking our skies, rivers, and soil with poisons, slavery and servitude in every age, rampant classism that creates chasms between the haves and the have-nots, tyrannical religious regimes that spawn an inquisition. Need I go back through all of recorded history to point out our dystopian tendencies? I have to admit that when the supporters of the former president stormed the Capitol, my response was, "Of course. What took you so long?" There had been enough heated rhetoric since the beginning of that administration that it was truly somewhat surprising to me that such an action had not occurred already. I'm not sure what that says about the condition of my soul, but I'm hoping to renew my optimism as the new administration takes root. Please don't disappoint me, America. Like many of you, I don't think I can take much more. All of that may be true, but we are here today to wake up from the dystopian nightmare, not explore the next chapter. So let us turn our hearts and minds to the future that we will create with our faith, hope, and optimism. In this morning's reading from Robert Walsh, we heard, "Trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn, but always healing. There's your strength. The shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together." They all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together. It was Christian theologian Paul Tillich who described God as the ground of our being. At this point in my spiritual journey, I find it helpful to turn that phrase upside down. The ground of my being is God. Does that seem like silly semantics? It feels important to me to begin with my experience, the foundations of my life, and name it God, rather than beginning with an amorphous idea of God and decide it is the ground of my being. I'm starting from an embodiedness, a feeling, rather than starting from an intellectual decision. That feels like an important distinction. the shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together. Love is the ground on which we walk together. Do you notice I always come back to love? Maybe it's true that every minister has just one sermon. Apparently mine is about the transformative power and potential of love. Real love. Love that casts out fear. Love that is patient and kind. Love that demands a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. If that kind of love is only for those who can afford it, or barter and trade for it, then it's not love. If that love is only for the people who share the earth at this moment in time, it's not love. We need to broaden the scope of our thinking to include those who will follow, who are depending on us to take care of the planetary home that will be theirs. So, dear fellow good ancestors, let's understand what creates a dystopian nightmare so that we can emerge from it and secure a future that is fundamentally different. At a recent Zoom meeting, there are oh so many, I offered a short reading from Paul Woodruff's book, Reverence, Renewing a Forgotten Virtue. One of the participants immediately exclaimed that this was the key. Our society had taken a wrong turn because there was no sense of reverence for others and the earth. Let me share with you a brief reading from this book to bring you into the conversation. Woodruff writes, "Reverence is an ancient virtue that survives among us in half-forgotten patterns of civility, in moments of inarticulate awe, and in nostalgia for the lost ways of traditional cultures. We have the word reverence in our language, but we scarcely know how to use it. Right now, it has no place in secular discussions of ethics or political theory. Even more surprisingly, reverence is missing from modern discussions of the ancient cultures that prized it. Reverence begins in a deep understanding of human limitations. From this grows the capacity to be in awe of whatever we believe lies outside our control: God, truth, justice, nature, even death. The capacity for awe, as it grows, brings with it the capacity for respecting fellow human beings, flaws and all. This in turn fosters the ability to be ashamed when we show moral flaws. Reverence is the virtue that keeps human beings from trying to act like gods." Although it might at first seem like it, reverence does not actually belong to religion. It is the purview of community. Think of it as good manners, cordiality and civility, or even ceremony. Reverence is one of the strengths in any good person's character. You may be wondering how a lack of reverence can lead to dystopian nightmare. But without those qualities of reliance on something greater than ourselves and a sense of respect, grace, and pardon toward others, we too easily become judgmental, dismissive, and reliant on our limited information. To hold something or someone in reverence is to hold in high esteem, as well as to challenge ourselves and others to do better. I've recently been listening to shame and vulnerability researcher Brené Brown talk about a form of grace, undeserved merit, that affirms that everyone is doing the best they can, given their circumstances. Like Brené, I secretly wish that people would try just a little harder. Surely what they are giving is not their best. It gives my self-righteousness gene a little boost to imagine that if only others were more like me, the world would be fundamentally better. Yeah, about that. I've had to do more than my share of apologizing to various people throughout the last several months. I'm not real proud of the caustic emails I've sent to the accounts department of the facility where my mother was when she died. I've had to backtrack and apologize on more than one occasion, and breathe and understand I was doing the best I could under the circumstances. Why would I not extend that same grace to others? It's not easy, and it's not pretty, but we have to give the space for people to be where they are, and then embrace them with a love that is larger than us, so they can set aside the fear and anxiety that is crushing them, and to begin to experience a larger love. That larger love is the essence of what we offer to one another in beloved community. It is the foundation of the transformative work we do to realize the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. That larger love binds us together and lets us put down the armor we are too often required to wear to protect our hearts. My prayer for you is that you know this kind of love. I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart.
I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart. I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart. I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart.
Waking from the Dystopian Nightmare, Part 2. I wonder how our lives would be different, how human history would be transformed if we knew that we were strong and safe and loved. It seems that so many of humanity's destructive tendencies arise out of feelings or experiences of scarcity, danger, and abandonment. And all of this is compounded by a lack of reverence for the beauty and mystery of life. In his book on reverence, Paul Woodruff writes, "To forget that you are only human, to think that you can act like a god, this is the opposite of reverence. An irreverent soul is arrogant and shameless, unable to feel awe in the face of things higher than itself. As a result, an irreverent soul is unable to feel respect for people it sees as lower than itself, ordinary people, prisoners, children. I certainly don't want to start naming names, but I think we have observed that kind of irreverence in our country in the not-so-distant past. What is the antidote? How do we wake from the dystopian nightmare? Because frankly, if we don't wake up and nudge others into waking, we will never be woke enough to be the good ancestors the future deserves. We begin with reverence, the well-developed capacity to have the feelings of awe, respect, and even shame when these are the right feelings to have. As Woodruff says, reverence fosters leadership and education. Reverence kindles warmth in friendship and family life. Without reverence, things fall apart. People do not know how to respect each other and themselves. Without reverence, we cannot explain why we should treat the natural world with respect. Without reverence, a house is not a home. A boss is not a leader. An instructor is not a teacher. Without reverence, we would not even know how to learn reverence. To teach reverence, you must find the seeds of reverence in each person and help them grow. Which brings us back full circle to knowing that we are strong and safe and loved. As we observed in the TED Talk from Roman Krasnarek during our Time for All Ages, it is reverence for the well-being of future generations that guides our decisions now. We decolonize the future by taking care of the place that will take care of our offspring. It's time to wake up. It's time to get woke. As a species, we are afflicted with short-timism, concerned only with our immediate gratification. If we are truly to become good ancestors, we must expand our vision to hundreds, if not thousands of years in the future. That kind of thinking is a radical inclusion that begins here and now and extends to future generations. Just imagine how a legacy that includes a reverence for all living things would foster acts of courage and compassion now and in the far future. We talk about the intersectionality of justice, how climate justice, racial justice, and social justice are all one tapestry, woven together in layers of complexity that are hard to untangle. Where do we begin? Well, how about reverence? Would an attitude of reverence that begins in a deep understanding of human limitations, that grows the capacity to be in awe of whatever we believe lies outside our control, God, truth, justice, nature, even death, would that foundation help us to transform ourselves and our world? Could a newfound reverence for the beauty and mystery of life and how that manifests in people and planet be enough to wake us into wokeness? John O'Donohue writes, "In order to become attentive to beauty, we need to rediscover the art of reverence. Our world seems to have lost all sense of reverence. We seldom even use the word reverence anymore. The notion of reverence is full of riches that we now need desperately. Put simply, it is appropriate that a human being should dwell on this earth with reverence." Compared to much on our living planet, our lifespans are ridiculously short. Hint, that should inspire reverence for the planet and all of life. But too often what we do in this blip of a life is to stack everything in our own favor. Not even in favor of all humanity, but our little corner, our little clubhouse of personal preferences, all wrapped up in our fears and insecurities. Too often we respond to the fault lines and disruptions in our life by hunkering down and clinging to our little comforts. We began the service with a reading from Robert Walsh. He describes living our lives amidst the clash of tectonic plates that disrupt our lives. Let me remind you of the last couple of lines as he describes the aftermath. You would have to take your losses, do whatever must be done next. When the next great plates slip, and the earth shivers, and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solidity, to weighty slabs of concrete poured, or strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. Trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn, but always healing. There's your strength. The shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together. When the great plates of our lives slip and shift, shattering all that we have accumulated, whether in people or belongings or some other form of wealth, we must choose the tensile strands of love over the hard and fast truths upon which we've built our lives. Love is the ground of our being. Love will shake us and wake us and give us the courage to get woke. Each of us has gifts and challenges, and we bring them together in this place. Each of us, no matter our age or stage of life, have a responsibility to the generations to come. I wonder what you will do to wake from the dystopian nightmare and use your energies to decolonize the future and to restore, repair, and care for the planetary home that will take care of our offspring. It begins by looking to the east, to the rising sun of hope and optimism. It begins by shining the light in our own dark corners and then extending that light into the world. It begins by grounding ourselves in love and in reverence, understanding our limitations, and committing ourselves to restore, repair, and care for the planetary home that will take care of our offspring, our legacy.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon
Thank you for joining us in worship today. Please see the credits at the end of this service for information about the music and other worship elements. And do take a moment to visit our website, uuamherst.org, and click on the giving link, or text your gift to 833-987-1968. We close this time of worship as we extinguish our chalice with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace. Live simply, gently, at home in yourselves. Act justly. Speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness. Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not your hand of charity. Practice forbearance. Speak the truth or speak not. Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and go as you go, with the dream of that peace alive in your heart.